Welcome to Woodburn Rising. My name is Bruce Crane. Tonight we are pleased to have Bill Burgess, the Marion County Clerk, here with us. And welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Bruce. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad for this opportunity.
And you're running for office again. This will be your fifth term?
My fourth term. I would like to run for a fifth term, so remember 4 years from now, I would like everybody to vote for me again. But of course, I have to get past it this time. I have to be reelected now so I can continue to provide great service where we try to bring, well, not try to, we bring efficiency, we bring accuracy, and we bring great customer service. We try to make sure that every customer leaves with a smile.
That's great. So, the county clerk, so what, we know you have something to do with elections and passports and marriage licenses and record deeds of trust. So is that, I mean, what do you do?
Well, those are some of the things we do. That's pretty much in a nutshell. Most everybody knows about voter registration and conducting of elections, and I can talk more about that. But some of the other things we do I think are very important also. One is we staff the Board of Property Tax Appeals, and that's a place where citizens can appeal their property taxes. Once they get their bill in October, they've got till December to file an appeal with us. We ask them to first go to the assessor's office because sometimes they can work it out if there's some bit of information the assessor didn't get. But if they need to appeal it after that, we provide an avenue for an appeal and a hearing. We run those February through April. We had about 150 this year. A couple of years ago, we had 850 appeals that we had.
Bill, that's not the most important thing we need to talk about. I mean, it's some really important thing. But just quickly, I've thought with the economic crisis and the kind of downturn in real estate, and it's going back up. I know things have changed. But were there a lot of appeals? Weren't people being charged, like the assessment of the property, tax assessors' amount that they were assessing the property was actually more than the market value in some cases? I wondered about that, and I looked at people's, tax assessment. And I thought, gee, did that happen? Was there a surge in?
Well, people's assessed value generally, historically, since Measure 5 and 49 and 50, the tax limitation measures from the 90s, made it so that people were generally taxed below the true market value. As the true market values you started coming down, that started narrowing, and that caused some consternation with people because they said, well, it feels like things are going down. Why are my taxes going up?
Right.
But part of that law said your taxes can go up based on your assessed value, which was way below the true market value. You could keep on going up by 3%, even as your real value was going down, even though as soon as it hit the assessed value, then you couldn't be assessed any more than the true market value. So you could indeed.
So that point never wasn't really reached. No. Okay. I just wondered. It seemed like they were getting close, and I didn't know, but I thought that Board of Appeals was an important part.
And now we're not the assessors. That's a different, great department that does a really good job in trying to make sure that they come up with fair values. But there are always situations that that sometimes there's information that they might not know about that through this hearings process comes to light, and sometimes people's taxes are actually reduced. Sometimes you argue about the true market value, and you can reduce your true market value, but it doesn't always affect your taxes.
Right.
But anyhow, I believe that board provides accountability to government. It provides a chance for people to be heard when they feel that they weren't treated fairly to begin with, and when they leave, they almost always, I believe, feel that they were at least heard, if not they've had their sort of like their day in court, and they learn more about the system itself, and indeed sometimes their taxes are reduced.
Right. Well, that's good to hear. Well, it's
Yeah.
good that there you can go and be heard, and when
Yes.
you have a complaint, I think that's important. So I'm glad you're doing that.
Another happier thing we do is marriage licenses. We do a couple thousand marriage licenses a year, and that's always big around holidays, and then when the sun comes out and around the summertime.
Right.
So we
Springtime.
Yes,
Young
yes.
man's fancy or heart turns or whatever that quote is.
So it's fun to see happy people in the office, and of course, one of our mottos is that people leave our office with a smile, and usually if they're getting married, they're happy enough to leave with a smile.
Right.
Another thing we have in the office is passports. People like to travel, and you mentioned the passports. Well, you can go other places to get a passport, but if you come to our place, it's a more fun place to get a passport. And so you want to have fun on your trip, so why don't you start out by having fun by coming into our office to have us do your passport for you. Get a passport photo at anywhere you might want to before you come in, and we'll get you all fixed up for that so you can have years and years of adventure.
So that's just a service you do.
Yes.
There's no cost to that. Everyone
Well,
pays.
there's a cost to it.
Doesn't everyone pay that $135 for a passport?
Yes, it's $110 to the, and I have to be careful, I might not have the prices exactly right.
Okay.
$110 to the Department of State, U.S. Department of State, and $25 to us. And then it depends if you want to get a card to go with it too, that card that allows you to drive across the borders, and it's sometimes easier than carrying your passport.
Right.
So we have options there. We have different options for kids, different rules for them. My folks that do passports have to go through passport agency training and get a certification to do that. But again, it's a good place to come and get your passport anywhere between 8:30 in the morning and 4. Our office is open till 5, but we ask you, because since it takes time,
Sure.
don't come in after 4 for something like that.
Right.
We're also the office for some businesses that need liquor licenses. Part of the circulation of a liquor license to go through the bureaucratic steps is through our office. We're also the place to come for people that are developing land with subdivisions and plats. We're one of the stops. They still have to go through other offices too for that. But we're known best for people coming in for their things like their deeds and their mortgages, those
Right.
land records that we keep forever. And that's the way that people can prove their property rights or their claims to property. You can own property without filing with us, but it's not smart to. It's smart to file with us so that provides that public notice and protects your property rights. Nobody's going to sell your property
Right.
out from under you. Or at least we would have records there that you can prove. If you filed your property with us, you can prove.
Well, recording of a deed of trust, and that's what you guys do, right?
Right. And the deeds
So-
of trust are more like mortgages here,
Right.
and then the deed for the property itself too. The deed's the ownership. The deed of trust in Oregon is like what most people would think is a mortgage. And these records we keep forever so that there's chain of title on that piece of property. And we keep these in digital form so you can look it up quickly on the computer, but we also burn them to microfilm because digital records aren't necessarily forever records, and these are records we need to keep forever. The idea of proving property rights is one of the underpinnings of our whole financial system, America's way of banking and finance, because it allows you to use that capital to take loans and things
Absolutely.
like that, that many other countries it's hard to prove who owns what, and so there's not as much capital. With America, we can have more capital to do more different things because of our property records management system that we have. And we have to keep that solid, strong, and we have to make sure that those records are with us for the long term. My colleagues on the East Coast have records back over 300 years. We have records back to well, maybe 1845,
Right.
but they have records back to like 1645. Maybe it's almost 400 years that they've got their records. So we digitize them so people can see them and look at them easily, but we also keep some of the older records in books as well as microfilm, because again, we have to have that chain of title from the land grants all the way on down. It's a lot of fun for me and some people that like history.
Right. I like the idea of your calling your work fun. I think that's always a good thing. If you're having fun, and you're providing a good service, you can't beat that. I don't have my Marion County voter pamphlet yet. We talked about that, and we talked about some important dates. And this is the primary election, May 17th, and that's when you're on the ballot, and there's a number of other things on the ballot. I don't know if we need to talk about that, but I know you have some things to pass on to the public in terms of dates and times. And
yes, this is a election that, as we see across other parts of the United States, we're having historic turnout for these elections.
Right.
And I don't expect anything different here in Oregon because of that.
And you've seen there's been some registration that shows that?
Yes, we've seen quite an increase in voter registration since the beginning of the year. Part of that, I believe, is just plain due to the excitement of what's going on, or maybe the fear of what's going on in the rest of the country, where people that hadn't been wanting to get involved are getting involved. But there's also the new Oregon Motor Voter Rule, or law, that was passed, that went into effect the beginning of this year, that takes every person that has been registered with the Department of Motor Vehicles and is a citizen, but has not been registered, and brings them forward to where we now automatically register them. The secretary.
This is kind of retroactively. You're taking.
I shouldn't say retroactively yet. This was forward from January forward. So anybody that hit the Department of Motor Vehicles for a ID card, a permit, or a driver's license, or a driver's license renewal or replacement,
Right.
All that data went to the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State then went through that to see which people have not been registered to vote, and automatically registers those people to vote. Now, they don't register everybody. They only register people who are citizens and are old enough to be registered to vote.
Right.
Okay.
And that that's 21?
18.
18,
In fact,
that's right.
In fact, you can actually register when you're 17, but we won't send you a ballot until there's an election to where you'll be 18. We put you in what we call a pending
Interesting.
place, a pending status.
Getting ready.
Yes, yes. The getting ready. The ready to come out and vote for the first time and do your not only your civic duty, but when you cast your ballot, you're saying, yes, I'm part of this community and I've got a voice.
Absolutely.
And we want more and more people to do that. So this may help. The Pew Charitable Trust told us, estimated a couple of years ago, that Marion County had about 50,000 people that were old enough to vote and were citizens but were not registered. So I'm not sure if
is that a high number in
Yeah, it's a high
counties?
number. That's a very high number percentage-wise compared to the 150,000 or so that were voting.
Right.
That means another 33%.
Wow, that's quite a few.
There that could be registered to vote.
So we get one of your goals is to capture those people and get them registered and get them to vote or motivate them.
Yes, we want people to vote because when they vote, we hope they feel they have more at stake in the community, and once they do that, they'll be more involved in volunteerism, pride in their community, and other such things. So it's only going forward with the people that are hitting the DMV now that are being sent a card saying, okay, we're going to register you to vote in 21 days. Automatically register you to vote. This is a opt-out instead of an opt-in. Before, it's always been opt-in.
Right.
So we're the first state to do an opt-out. California and New York are looking at it now. But we're the first
I didn't
state
know that. That's fantastic.
to do this. And
so if you do nothing, you're going to be registered.
right. You've got 21 days within which to send the card back saying that I don't want to be registered, and then you won't be registered at all, or to pick a party. Otherwise, you're registered as what we call non-affiliated voter, not independent. We'll talk about that later, but non-affiliated voter, not affiliated with any party. And of course, then later on, you can change that.
Sure.
These voters
So then you would, so you're non-affiliated, but you would get the pamphlet in the mail, and then, unlike I've lived in other places where you had to go down somewhere and you know, with a curtain and go behind there and vote to a polling place, whereas here in Oregon, you get it in the mail. If you don't send it in, you don't vote, but all you have to do is either mail it in or take it to one of these sites, which I know you're going to refer to, and it makes it easy.
Yes, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to be involved.
Is this the easiest state to vote in, or one of, or with these new rules?
I think we've been a leader in a lot of ways in this state. We were a leader in vote by mail. We were a leader in having a statewide voter registration system. We are a leader in making having an online voter registration system where you can go online to check your voter registration and update it. In fact, that's OregonVotes.gov. OregonVotes.gov is a really important thing to do. You can check there to see if you're registered and how you're registered, because some people forget what party they're registered under.
Sure.
And we need you to be registered by the party that you want by April the 26th in order to get you the right ballot. But going forward with this Oregon Motor Voter Initiative, something's going to happen in June. The state's going to try to go back and look at 2015 and 2014, all the business with the DMV, and see if they can bring the records of those people forward who have not been registered to vote and get them registered to vote. So we may have, and we're not sure what the number is, maybe 10, 15, 20,000 more registered voters for the November election than we have now, based on looking backwards on those particular
Interesting. So
numbers.
is that something that was in the motor voter law that was passed, and they said, well, we're going to wait, we can't do everything at once, so we'll do retroactive a few years down the road,
and it was part of the Oregon Motor Voter Law. This is again a made in Oregon
Absolutely.
product. If you go back in history, though, we take for granted lots of things, but about 1902, Oregon was the first state to have the initiative process where citizens can bring forward legislation. It was the first state to have the referendum process where citizens can bring forward, if a law has been passed by the legislature, say, wait a minute, we want to vote on that, and so before it takes effect, it can be voted on. We were the first state to do that. We're also the first state to bring out the ability to recall elected officials. And today we're one of the few states that allows lots of ways to write in voters on ballots. Some states don't allow write-ins at all. Some states have other restrictions. We're probably the most wide open state for that because we have a history of citizen involvement and honoring what the citizens want. We really have a heritage of citizen-directed government here.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oregon, very progressive.
Yes,
California,
welcome to Oregon.
California beats Oregon in some spots, I think, but I'm not sure which. I think it seems like they're competing at times to.
Yes, California beats us with pollution. We have cleaner water,
true.
cleaner air in Oregon.
And more water. So these dates, April 26th, that
Yes.
Go over those, please, once again, because I think these
Okay.
are important.
Yeah, this is very key. April 26th is 21 days before the election, which means it's the last day for a new voter to vote. It's also the last day for any voter to change their party. So I'm urging anybody that may have a question of what party they're registered under to go to OregonVotes.gov, because on there they can update their voter registration and they can check it to make sure that they're the party they want, so that they can get the ballot they want.
Right.
Oregon's got
and
a
vote in the primary, or if they want
Yeah.
to vote for a Democrat or for a Republican.
Yes.
And people may want to change that
Right.
too, because there's unusual things going on in this primary.
You betcha, and we're seeing lots of changes. Oregon's got a closed primary. Today at the counter, I had two gentlemen come up, both under the category of non-affiliated, and one wanted to register Democrat and one wanted to register Republican, specifically for this election. Will they stay that way after the election? I don't know, but
Right.
they wanted to shed their non-affiliated status, which 38,000 or maybe 36,000 people in our county have, to be a member of one of these other parties so that they can get the ballot they wanted. I think we have about 55,000 Republicans and 55,000 Democrats. They're pretty even right now. They're just a
Wow.
few more Dems than ours, which is a little odd. Usually the R's are ahead by a couple thousand, but right now they're...
How many
they're neck and neck.
non-affiliated?
Non-affiliated, about 36,000. We have the Independent Party, which is actually a party. When you hear it in the news, they talk about independence. They really mean in Oregon what they mean non-affiliated. But these are actually a party, the non-affiliated, the Independent Party voters. We have about 7,500 of them. And then we have a few thousand of people of various other minor parties too: Constitutionalists, Pacific Green, Libertarian, Working Families Party, Progressive Party, and then they have always a chance to write other and make their own party up when they register too. So
Oh, there is another.
Oh yes, there is another for lots of I guess Oregon's sort of a
Creativity.
party state. So, but there's lots of different parties to choose from, just like lots of different churches to choose from.
Right. So that's April 26th.
Yes, April 26th. Please do that by April 26th. And then the ballots will be going out April 27th. And I'd like, everybody should have a ballot in their hand by May the 5th. If you don't have a ballot in your hand at your house by May the 5th and you're registered to vote, call us or come see us at our election at the County Clerk's office, downtown Salem, second floor, Courthouse Square, 555 Court Street Northeast, or just plain give us a call.
Right.
And we'll see what's going on with that. Sometimes people have been inactivated, or we sent a ballot out to them and it came back to us undeliverable. We have thousands that come back to us undeliverable because for somehow we haven't got an address update. So we work those up, so we try to turn them around, send the ballots back when we can, but you should give us a call if you don't get a ballot. And then once you fill your ballot out, you've got till May 17th, but if you're going to mail it back to us, please mail it by May the 10th. The Postal Service's new delivery standards allow 2 to 5 days, business days for delivery, and we don't want your ballot to be caught in that 2 to 5 day window, which sometimes with a weekend can be more than that. So we recommend that you mail it by the 10th, and if you don't mail it by the 10th, find a drop site. We've got drop sites all over the county. We've got about 24 drop sites. Right here in Woodburn, we've got a 24-hour drop site by the library in City Hall, close to the book drop. They won't be confused. Our drop box has got a very narrow slit, so you won't be able to put any books in that,
Can't get a book
hopefully.
in there. I jokingly said I was going to put a book in there, but I saw it and I was glad it was there.
Yeah. Don't put your water bill in there, and don't put your ballot in the book box either. You got to read that there. There's also another box in Silverton
Well,
by
there
the City
used
Hall.
to be one. I thought you could just go in City Hall and drop it in there.
It used to be.
But
Then
that's
we moved it
changed.
outside.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
we moved it outside, less congested inside.
Right.
And the one that we've got in Woodburn and the one that we've got in Silverton, you can actually drive past them. They're right on the driver's side. Makes it really easy for the driver to get that ballot in there.
So, Bill, we've only got a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
It goes by fast. So
We're just
you're
getting warmed up.
I know. Talk about the job you do, what you feel you bring that some of the other candidates don't bring. Because on this primary election, you're going to be on the ballot with two other.
Yes, I have two opponents this election have decided to challenge me for this job, and it's a great job. I can see why people would want to do it. But I think it's really important in this job to have stability. That takes a lot of knowledge. It takes a lot of people working skills. Takes a lot of persistence, a lot of patience, and knowledge of what's going on. I do have a Master's of Public Administration, and I've done a lot of continuing education. And I have a certification through the Election Center in Auburn University, and I serve on some national committees. I'm on the national board of the, they call it NACRAC, National Association of County Recorders, Elections Officials, and Clerks.
Wow, you can say that. I think you deserve to be reelected just for being able to do that.
And I've been involved, just like when I was in pharmacy. I'm a pharmacist also, and there I was involved in legislation on the statewide level. I've been involved in legislation on this in the election and recording.
Salem
world,
City
too.
Councilor.
Oh yes, that's right. I
Right.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was a very great, fun job. 8.5 years on the Salem City Council. Last year, City Council President. I was proud of my service there. If we don't do things to make our community better, the community slips, and so we always have to have people bringing energy and excitement and knowledge and experience to help make our community better. The one big thing in my that I think that makes my job so rewarding is I've got such a great team in my office. I've got some fantastic people that are working with us to make elections work well, make these other things work well. And I would say statewide, the county offices work hard. We get together as county clerks throughout the state trying to make things better. And then I also work on the national stage to make things better.
I think there's some consistency too, which is good. You talk about a good team. That means you're leading the team well, and that's important. I think one of your opponents talked about you need to change, and I'm not sure you need to change unless there's a reason for doing that. And it sounds like you've been doing a good job. I know you've been reaching out to bring more people to the table in terms of to the election, to the voter rolls, and you've been doing some other things in terms of electronic.
Like e-recording in our licensing recording
Yes,
division.
right.
We just started that a few weeks ago, and half the documents are coming in through an e-recording type system where people don't have to bring the paper in. That's through mortgage companies and things like that, though it's not for the normal.
Yeah. But
everyday
that's something that you've put into place.
Yes, it is.
And you have some knowledge about
to
that.
get it
Right.
done, but we finally got. That was one big thing we got done. But I think it's just working to make things happen. Things are never done, never perfect. We're always working to make it better, and that's exciting.
Good. Well, Bill, it's been great to have you on the show, and I wish you the best. You have my vote.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for being on. Thank you for watching Woodburn Rising.